Are you one of those who love samosa and yet perhaps you don't like meat, or you don't eat meat, or you don't have meat in the house? In today's video, I want to show you how to make very delightful samosas with something else. I am using Ndengu special, or you might also use the normal Ndengu or green grams. Please join me. Welcome to Recipes and Hospitality with Clara. This is a channel where we share recipes that are simple, easy to do at home like this one, with ingredients toned down to enhance your hospitality for the glory of God. And if you're new here, kindly consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, and you'll be notified every time I upload simple, easy content just like this one. As is always our custom, we will pray and trust the Lord to grant you and I a fruitful time. Indeed, Father, that's our prayer, that you will grant us a fruitful time as we work on this recipe. Grant that you will be glorified as you help us to enhance our hospitality with what you have provided, in Jesus' name. Amen. Just before we get into the video, I need to say that I am using a particular method of making the samosa pockets that I was actually shown. But if you find it a bit complicated, I'm going to link in the description a video of how I made samosas, and I use a different method that I find easier to use, but I thought if I give the two, you could choose the one that is easier for you, either the one I'm doing in this video or the one I did in the video linked below for the meat samosas, but just focus on the making the pockets because I actually roll out the single pieces by themselves, but this one you will see how I do it. We will begin by working on the dough. Let's combine 3 cups of flour into our mixing bowl. I will add in the teaspoon of salt and then mix the flour. Add in your 2 tablespoons of salad oil. I'm adding some salad oil. Basically use your cold water to make a dough. I'm going to make a dough that is rather soft because when it is soft it's easier to roll out when we need to roll it out. I'm using a blunt bread knife to do this. So once you have kneaded it for a few minutes, just gather it in your bowl, cover it with a clean kitchen towel, and then allow it to rest for some time, at least for an hour. I find when you have allowed it to rest, it's also an easier way of allowing the dough to be really nice and soft and malleable. Meanwhile, you can begin to work on your other ingredients, especially cutting them up as you wait for the dough to relax. Now we will begin frying our onion. I'm using about 5 tablespoons of salad oil, but just use enough salad oil to get the onions to fry well. Add in your onion and keep stirring it occasionally until it gets just soft and tender. Once you get it to that consistency, we are adding in our salt to taste. I will add in the spices. I have included in the ingredients the suggested spices you can use, but you can use spices of choice. Some people just like also to use curry powder or just roiko, but personally those are the ones I prefer. Mix them, and then once they are well mixed with the onion, lower the heat and allow the spices to cook for a minute or so. Next, add in your Western Ndengu or your green grams. And if yours are wet like mine, you may have to allow them to cook until you get rid of most of that water. So what that means is when you're boiling them initially, let them boil until all the water is gone. By the way, the reason why I like using Ndengu special or Western Ndengu rather than the normal green grams on Ndengu is because these ones tend to be firm. They will not break down like the normal Ndengu, so I prefer them over using the green grams. So like now, because it seems I didn't get rid of all the water when I was boiling, as you can clearly see, I had to allow the water to all go, and you can see after that they are still fairly firm, and so they are not breaking down the way the normal Ndengu does. But now allow it to cool like you have allowed. I have slightly slid the lid open so that it can cool. And now we get back to our dough. You can see it's really nicely relaxed. So we will now get to divide it into 8 equal pieces. What I'm doing, because it's really sticky, I'm using some flour on the surface. I'm dividing it first into 4, and then each of those 4 pieces I'll further divide again to make 8 equal pieces. By the way, these ones are more because my pan, the one I will use to prepare the pockets, my pan is quite wide. I think it's about 11 or more inches wide. So my pieces are slightly big. So what we will do now is we will roll them out into small chapati-like or roti-like pieces that are about 4 inches in diameter. So you can see they are not too big, they are just small enough. So I'm going to do that to all the 8 pieces, and then I'll show you what we will do in a short while. Try to make them as round as possible and as equal in size as possible, but even if you don't, it's still okay. I think this is also a skill to be learned. I'm placing them on a plate, but you can still place them on your working surface. But only remember, if you're doing it on a plate, remember to also dust your plate. I forgot to dust it, and so it gave me a little trouble getting this one out. But ensure you dust your plate, then place on the first one. Drizzle some very little salad oil on the surface and spread it out. I'm simply spreading out with my hands so that the entire chapati is spread out with the salad oil, as you can see. And then place on the next one and do the same. Just a little, perhaps half a teaspoon or so, but enough oil that when you spread it out with your hands, it can cover the entire piece, and then place on the next one. So we are layering all this until we get to our 8th piece. But remember, on the surface of the last piece, you don't have to spread out the oil on that. So let's go ahead and continue layering them. Now we are done. You can see on the surface I haven't put any salad oil. So now we go to the next step where you're going to dust your surface, and you can see it really gave me trouble getting them off the plate, but I got them onto my surface. And usually when you layer them like this, they are quite easy to spread out. I don't know whether it's because of the salad oil in them, but they may look like they are too many, but they are so easy to spread out. And ensure you spread out in terms of the size of your pan. If your pan is too small, please remember to divide them further into 16 pieces. But like I told you, my pan is wide enough, so I'm going to spread them out just to fit into my pan really well. And remember to start your pan going, so place it on low heat so that it can begin to get hot. Now once I have finished layering and rolling out these pieces, I will place them on the hot pan. Don't let it be too hot because you don't want them to burn, you just want them to dry out. So you can see now that I have turned over and lowered the heat. By the way, you can now peel them out slowly. Peel them out, as you can see it peeled out, then turn over again and peel out the next one. So just find that place where you can start peeling off, and then peel off slowly so that it doesn't tear. So I actually did that for all of them. The first one happened to be very small, so I am actually separating it. So I'm cutting all of them, and then I'll cut the last one by itself because it was rather small, smaller than the others. So cut it into quarters. And then we go to the next step. We are now going to go ahead and make our paste, the one that we will use to paste together our pockets. So I'm using about 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I'm going to just pour in enough water to make a paste that is thick, but not runny. It's just a thick paste as you will see me do. So that's the paste I'm talking about. You can see it's just thick enough to be able to form the glue that we will use to work on the samosas. Now, begin by working on your first piece. I am using that wider curved side, and then I will use it as my first flap by turning it over midway, and then I will apply the glue as I'm doing, and then use the other side as my second flap and turn it over onto that first flap as you can see, so that I form that first samosa pocket. So just ensure you glue on as I'm doing. Glue it on very well, including the tip. Ensure that it is well covered so that no fluid will escape into your oil and form that noise, Yeah, so that's how we are making them initially. And this is usually a fun activity also to do with your children as you train them, because there are quite many, 32 pieces in total, so they helped me to do this. It doesn't have to be perfect. And remember, even if your samosa are not really round, thankfully they are rather forgiving. When you are doing these flaps, you can actually find a way of gluing them in a way that they will still fit in really well. So now we get back to our Western Ndengu that is already done. I am putting in all my greens later on once they have cooled significantly, so that our greens don't turn a different color. So I will simply mix them in gently with my fork so that they mix in very well. And then I'm using a fork also so that the Western Ndengu doesn't break apart as I'm doing that. Now we begin to work on our samosa. So I'm using about a tablespoon of the filling and putting it into the pocket, and then use the flap on top that remained to again glue, apply your glue onto that flap at the top, and then cover it and glue it onto the other part of the samosa as I'm doing. And of course, just ensure again the tips are well secured and glued together so that your samosa can remain intact as you fry. So now go ahead and work on the rest of them as I'm doing, just ensuring the tips are also well closed. And this is also where you can employ the help of your children as you train them or someone else. Now our taster one is already done, so we will begin to fry the rest of our samosas. So ensure to fry them until they are a golden color on both sides. Just ensure they don't burn, they just have a nice golden color, as you will see. So our first batch is ready. Now go ahead and do the same to the rest of the samosas until all of them are done. Just look at how delightful they look. We really enjoyed them a great deal, and I'm sure you're also going to enjoy them. So I know you've been eating them. How are they?
Very nice.
Very nice. Wow, I'm glad.
Crunchy.
And crunchy. So how is it, girl?
I can feel the crunch.
You love it? Very nice.
Yeah. And I love that beans are something that you put without even meat.
Wow. We absolutely enjoyed those samosas, and I'm hopeful that you will enjoy them as well. Please try them. You can see you don't need meat to make your samosas. You can make them very delightfully with your cereal. Particularly this one I've used because it's also firm and tends to work very well as well, and we enjoyed them so much. And so we'll look out for our next video. Again, another delightful simple one, but meanwhile, as you wait, you can check out this playlist right here of simple meals that you can also make at home to enhance your hospitality for the glory of God. And until that next video, thank you for joining me. Bye.